Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Wednesday, June 25th, 2:30 p.m. Time for another live stream. Let us begin. All right. We are doing a draft today, and I have two schnauzers left. I know most of y'all are not part of eligible. Most of you have maxed out the schnauzer. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to do one real quick, and then we'll do a poodle after this in the second one. But I want to make sure I do not get boxed out. I'm doing one of my last schnauzers. I think I'm going to leave the last one off the stream. I'll do a slow draft, but we're going to get our feet wet with the lower buy-in, and then we'll do a poodle right after this. I'm sure more of y'all are eligible for the poodle. But if you happen to have a schnauzer available, go ahead and hop in. There's 2 spots left. This lobby should be full pretty soon. But I did pace out my entries into the schnauzer, and so I am getting in while I still can. There's like 5% of the entries left available, maybe less than 5%. But Scott, good afternoon to you as well. Welcome in. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us. We have pick 7 today. Pick 7, not my favorite. I like being in the middle, but I think the drop off from pick 6 to pick 7 is considerable. I kind of feel like all the players from like 7 through 15 are all kind of the same. So it's kind of just choose your own adventure, and we will maybe take a player that we don't usually take just for the sake of mixing things up. But let me make sure I got this all sorted out. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. I don't know if you could hear that. My cat is just like fumbling with some stuff in the background. She just ate, so she should leave me alone for a little while. Anyways, feeling good today. Doing well. And maybe we'll do three drafts today. At least 2. That's usually how it goes. But this draft is underway, and wish me luck. I wish all of you luck with all of your endeavors. Whether it's best ball or just your regular old activities. Good luck to everyone. CeeDee Lamb off the board at pick 3 over Justin Jefferson. Not bad. Bijan starting to go above Saquon. That is noteworthy. I don't know if that's going to be a trend that continues. Maybe the Madden curse scares people off. We see Puka go. That's beautiful. We get Jahmyr Gibbs. So the luck falls our way, and we do get that player I think is clearly more of a pick 6 than pick 7. I'd rather have Gibbs than Puka, personally. I still think we can get a very good receiver in round 2. That is probably not as good as Puka, but we're not getting a running back that's as good with as high upside as Jahmyr Gibbs. So very happy with that pick, and the vibes are paying off. That's nice. Good to be vibrating at a nice frequency, attracting abundance, as some people call it. Anyways, other than Puka above Jahmyr Gibbs, everything is very typical. Seems like CMC is now like officially in that like pick 7, pick 8 range. Definitely above Genty. I don't know if he'll ever jump into the top 5. That would feel kind of excessive. There's still some risk with McCaffrey. Plenty of upside, warrants the round 1 pick, but there's a safer floor with Gibbs, Saquon, and Bijan. That's for sure. Anyways, we'll probably go. No, AJ Brown gets taken, so fuck it. I do it kind of consistently though. You know what? We have Baker on the thumbnail, so maybe we make this a Tampa Bay team. We go Bucky Irving, mix it up. There's fewer teams with Gibbs and Bucky Irving than there are teams with Gibbs and Achane. So on this side of the board, not as many teams with Bucky Irving. Bucky had just a phenomenal stretch towards the end of the season. Could be a top 5 running back this year. That's definitely not out of the range of outcomes. There's just a new offensive coordinator. Can't say for sure what will be changed in that offense. But if there's one trend we can probably bet on, it's the fact that Bucky is going to be well overtaking Rachaad White. And what's really interesting about Bucky Irving is the success he had in the second half of the year came on like a relatively low snap share. His snaps never really exceeded 60%. There was a game in week 6 at New Orleans where he played 63% of the snaps. Hold on. The stats I'm looking for are down here on this side. Whoa, what is happening right now? No. Okay. 64% in week 6 against Tampa. But other than that, only in week 18 did he eclipse 70%. Every other game he was at like maximum 57%. We would expect Bucky to be playing much more often than that in year 2. He's just so explosive, so good. And if that snap share really increases, you would think the usage goes up. But I have a decent amount of Terry already. We need a receiver. I'm going to go JSN and hope and pray that Sam Darnold does work out. There's at least extremely limited target competition for JSN. But Fancy Dog, welcome in. Number 3 like. Thank you for liking the stream. Reflect the Sun, welcome in. Saw you last night on that Fantasy Football Garage live chat. That was fun. Looks like some usual people are here. Thank y'all for joining me. But considered Mike Evans there for the sake of that Tampa Bay stack that we were mentioning. But I have seen Mike Evans fall into the 4th kind of consistently. We're at the middle of the board, so a little bit less likely to happen. But have seen it work out. Definitely possible. Let's hope for the best. Yeah, last night on that stream, I got sniped on Bryce Young. That was who I wanted. I had Tet McMillan lined up for the stack. We got sniped, unfortunately. And I was also thinking about going Daniel Jones because I had Tyler Warren on that team. But the value on Geno was just so good. And I also got sniped on Daniel Jones as well. So we took him late. Took him at like pick 184. That's like 25 picks past ADP. And then Thornton did make it all the way back around. But we did not get Mike Evans here. Did not happen. Should probably go with receiver instead of James Cook. So we don't take him very often, but we'll shoot for the upside. We'll take the swing. Xavier Worthy, much better pick in best ball than he is in redraft, but does have the speed, does have the capability of dropping like a 35-point game any given week. Not just in the touchdown, not just in the passing game, but in the run department. He can give you those touchdowns that you need. Sorry for keeping the board a little bit off center. Forgot I moved it around when we talked about Bucky Irving, but here's the appropriate board. We were missing the left side for about a minute or two there. But Jahmyr Gibbs, Bucky Irving, JSN, Xavier Worthy. Maybe we should have just grabbed Mike Evans, but the swing on him falling was worth it. Didn't happen. And it's not the end of the world. We can always take Godwin. We can always go with Egbuka later. We'll be okay. But we can also just pivot off the Bucks stack in general. There's nothing that's locking me into anyone. But interesting, team one. Team one goes with double tight end in round 3 and 4. Bully tight end, not my preferred strategy, but something to keep in mind. Perhaps bumping up a tight end that we like later on and just getting our guy is something to keep in mind, because it's possible there's a bit of a run on tight end when one of the elite guys in the top 3 is not on a new team. Then that's just one more team that's going to be needing tight end exposures. But unless we see that team at 9 go double tight end as well, it's probably not going to get out of hand. No need to panic about it, that's for sure. But we don't take Pickens that much, and for the sake of week 17 correlation, Bucky Irving, Bucks versus Miami is probably a little bit better. But let's dip our feet into the George Pickens pool. He does fall 5 picks, and in all honesty, I'm kind of fading Waddle overall. The Dolphins kind of scare me. There's always the scenario where Tua goes down and it kind of just wrecks their overall offense, but we passed on A-Chain. Let's pass on another Dolphin. And Waddle, I would draft a lot more Waddle if he was just going around later. I wish Waddle was going like after Chris Olave, but Waddle had a rough year last season, and he does scare me. But perhaps this is the year to be fading Tyreek instead. In general, all the Dolphins are kind of worrisome, but if there's one that like worries me the most and that I'm not that upset about not drafting, it is Waddle. Granted, it was kind of linked to injury, but until Tyreek Hill leaves the Dolphins, I don't feel tremendously excited to draft Waddle. Jonnu was just so involved last season, and A-Chain, also a huge threat in the passing game. Not my favorite selection, but that team at 11, I think, does panic a little bit on tight end and does reach on Laporta. I would not be taking Laporta in the 5th round. That feels excessively high. Just not necessary to do. So that's fine. That's okay. Hoping for Godwin. We probably get sniped here. If not, we'll go Olave. We're going to go Godwin. And now we have yet another Tampa Bay Buccaneer. So here's the team so far. Very elite at running back with Jahmyr Gibbs, Bucky Irving. Wide receiver JSN, ton of volume headed his way. Hoping for that year 3 solidifying of his elite status. Last year, he absolutely broke out. It should work out again. Just not convinced I fully trust Darnold as much as Geno. But then Xavier Worthy, George Pickens, Chris Godwin. Definitely some high upside with these options. They are not the highest floor players, but it's best ball. We should be shooting for the ceiling in the first place. So I'm fine with this combo. Although generally, I'm not really drafting JSN Worthy or Pickens that often. But let's get back to the chat. I've noticed some messages, but yes, the slide on Gibbs to pick 7 was beautiful. Absolutely the pick I want to make when available. You're the guy who got me straightened out. Got 6 shares now. 6 shares of who? Bucky? Who are we talking about, Fantasy Dog? Bucky or Gibbs? Shamrock asking, do I think Hunter should be falling? I think the tier of player that Hunter is going in is all kind of like relatively the same. You know, like, is there much of a difference between Travis Hunter and George Pickens this year? Probably not. However, the main reason I think he's falling is because now that we are about to head into July, a lot more of the casual fantasy players are hopping into these lobbies. Like, if you were drafting these last couple months, all the diehards are just spamming these drafts and leading to like so many lack of values. But before we forget to make our pick, we could go Judkins, but I'm really low on the Browns offense in general this year. I'm going to go Ricky Pearsall, first round pick, and with some of the risk at receiver, I think I'd rather dip my feet back into this pool real quick before it dries up. So we're going to grab Pearsall. We have Gibbs and Bucky. No need to panic on running back too much. Just get some high-end upside receivers while we still can. And investing in the Niners never feels like a regrettable decision. I have way too much Ayuk. I have a decent amount of Juwan. If there's one player I've been a little bit shy to take, it's Pearsall, so I've been trying to catch up. And we do get a 5-pick discount on Pearsall as well. So Pearsall is the pick there. But back to your question, Shamrock, do I think Travis Hunter should be falling? I think in that round 4 or 5 turn, he's a perfectly fine pick. I am not afraid to take him sometimes at pick 36, 37 when I have Brian Thomas so that I can set up the Trevor Lawrence stack, because I really think that the Liam Cohen play calling in Jacksonville is going to pay off some dividends. So it's just a question of how many snaps he's actually playing on defense. Does it lead to maybe some extra rest time for him overall? Does he get banged up a little bit more than the average player? It is possible, but he's young. He's very prolific. They drafted him 2nd overall. They traded up to get him. Odds are Travis Hunter's pretty involved in their offense. I know long term he wants to play more receiver than corner just because of the paycheck you can be getting. But the question here is, do we grab Baker or do we risk him sliding all the way back and just take Igbukah? I'm going to risk it. Let's go full Bruce Arians commitment. No risk it, no biscuit. And take a shot that Baker does come all the way back around. It's possible, it's unlikely, but we're at the middle of the board. For him to fall to 103 is not completely egregious, not impossible. We are taking our shot. And there's always the world where Godwin is just never the same. There's a chance that Godwin never returns to full form. So let's make that swing, take it, and pray that it works out. So far, Baker has not been taken. But generally, back to the Hunter question, just ping-ponging back and forth from it. Most people who are new to, the underdog scene, like, that are just not paying attention as much as the rest of us, wow, Team 1 is just flailing with TJ Hawkinson and Baker Mayfield. Go ahead, but weird. They're taking 3 tight ends in the first 8 rounds. Hunter's a fine pick where he's going. If he falls past into round 5, I'll grab him. I'll scoop him up. I think he's a good pick where he's going. Plenty of upside in best ball, especially. It's good, but most people are just worried about his dual threat capabilities and him playing too much defense. I think it's a little too unfounded. I think I was a little too worried about it back when the draft happened. Now I'm not that concerned. I think he's a fine pick where he's going. But just gonna take Purdy. We'll draft Brock Purdy, pair him up with Ricky Pearsall. Like I mentioned, I wanted Baker, but I knew it was risky. I knew it probably wouldn't happen, but it's worth gambling on. I have gotten Baker in the 100s before. I've seen it happen. Just Team 1 is a madman. Team 1 has an insane strategy. They go McBride, George Kittle in rounds 3 and 4, and then they take TJ Hawkinson in round 8 with an unstacked Baker. Go ahead if that's what you want to do. But our team is in line for plenty of stacks. We can go Darnold. We can go Dak as well. Not going to stress over a missed Baker opportunity. But obviously the team was set up for that. It just doesn't work out. Anyways, if Hunter continues to fall, I'll scoop him up at a discount. That's ultimately my point on Travis Hunter. Anyways, here's the team. We have double elite running back with Jahmyr Gibbs, Bucky Irving. And then we grab 6 straight receivers with JSN, Xavier Worthy, George Pickens, Chris Godwin, Ricky Pearsall, and Emeka Egbuka. We also have Brock Purdy. I should probably draft a running back here. We only have 2. So we'll grab Najee. 4 straight seasons with over 1,000 rushing yards. Usually averages about 7-8 touchdowns. That probably falls off a little bit, given they drafted Omarion Hampton, but they're also paying him like up to $9 million, and I highly doubt Jim Harbaugh's not going to incorporate him heavily into the offense. He's more of a floor play, but obviously if Hampton goes down, we have very high upside with Najee. On a run-first team, good O-line. There's contingent upside that makes this a worthwhile pick, but much more of a floor play than an upside swing. If you want the upside, draft Hampton. But here in round 10, we need a third running back that can keep our flex value relatively high. And I think Najee's worth it in the 10th round. Najee's fine in round 10. But Javonte goes 115. This team is not afraid of the Miles Sanders hype. Then Evan Ingram goes 116, followed by Christian Kirk, Dak Prescott, Jonnu Smith. The Jonnu Smith price drop is kind of excessive. Zach Charbonnet goes to that team at 1, his first running back. They go Drake May as well, so they are really punting that position. It's going to be interesting to see what Team 1 does. I feel like they might draft like 6 more running backs these next 6 rounds. Tyler Warren goes. We'll grab Njoku. Quarterback situation completely up in the air in Cleveland, but none of these quarterbacks on the board are players we have stacking options for, so no need to force them into our lineup here. And Njoku feels like he's going way too low in the first place. So Njoku, one of my most drafted tight ends. Round 11 is a good price. Some concerns about Harold Fannin mixing in, but a lot of those reports also say it'll be like 2 tight end sets, that type of thing. So I'm not that concerned about it. Generally, rookie tight ends don't have that much success, especially if they're a 4th round pick like Harold Fannin was. And Njoku just has tremendous upside, especially if Flacco gets a bunch of starts. Flacco is the quarterback we are hoping for in Cleveland for the sake of fantasy. There are some positive reports about Kenny Pickett, but how much do you really believe that? I can't say I'm much of a believer in Kenny Pickett. Flacco probably gets at least a few starts. I think week 1, Flacco's the starter. How long will he last? Probably not past week like 6. But at this point, it looks like Shedeur is even more doomed than he was on draft day. Or I guess day 3 of the draft. But again, none of these quarterbacks line up for me. I think I'm just going to wait for Sam Darnold, and then we'll draft another tight end probably. We can go Kincaid. We can go Goddard. We can also take Rachaad White. I'll go Kincaid. Kincaid was kind of banged up last year. That's one of the reasons he wasn't very good. But we had such high hopes on Kincaid last season that were just never happened. Kincaid was a round 5 pick last year. Now he's a round 12 pick. That is probably a little bit too low. But in general, the tight end market has been far too suppressed than where it should be. But Wow, some weird picks at quarterback. Like we saw CJ Stroud at 110 in this draft. We see Matthew Stafford at 139 in this draft. At least this team has Puka and Adams, so it's justified. But that's like a 2-round reach on Stafford. Maybe they queued him up and just ran out of time. But worst comes to worst, I'll draft a Sam Darnold on this team. We passed on Dak Prescott. He went 118. We didn't really get any good values at quarterback. That's usually what I'm trying to get. Not on this one. Gamble a little too hard with Baker Mayfield. But I do feel like the combo of David Njoku, Dalton Kincaid can probably get me by with just 2. And with that type of luxury, I'm probably going to draft 3 quarterbacks. One of them will be Darnold. We probably mix in a Daniel Jones. Something like that. But if Garendo's there, we'll probably just take Garendo. Nope, he gets sniped. Leggett seems to be moving up the board. But I need a running back. We have a good receiving core. I'll take Algier. We'll short Bijan a little bit. Odds are Algier doesn't get like a ton of usage, but obviously if Bijan does go down at all, he will be a smash pick like all these other handcuffs. Eckler's more of a floor play. Even if Brian Robinson went down, I wouldn't really expect Eckler to be like elite. You know what I mean? Algier could put up some top 5 weeks if Bijan goes down. Eckler doing that, not totally convinced. I think it's still a bit more of a committee. His rushing touchdowns can easily get sniped by Jaden Daniels. He's a good pass catcher. In terms of his weekly contributions into your lineup, you're probably going to get a lot more like 8-9 point games out of Austin Eckler. But in best ball, that doesn't really move the needle like crazy. We're looking for at least like 14 plus point ceilings. And barring touchdowns, Eckler probably hits that as often as Algier next season. Not a massive difference. But if Eckler's available here in round 14 at pick 162, I'll probably take Eckler. Darnold is just going so late. So you can wait on Darnold. Freiermuth goes. We'll grab Eckler. We were mentioning it, contemplating. And he does fall 7 picks. So decent price on Eckler. We get the ceiling floor combo of Algier and Eckler. So obviously very top heavy at running back, but with Gibbs and Bucky, I think we can absolutely call it done at 5. And then relatively high floor with Najee and Eckler shooting for the fence, but could get very little contribution out of Algier. Worth the risk. No risk it, no biscuit, as they say. But rest of this draft, we'll draft another 2 quarterbacks. And then with 4 rounds left, probably another 2 receivers, given we waited till round 3 to draft our first receiver. Probably better to finish this up with 8 receivers rather than just 7. But I probably won't play any games here, assuming no snipe. Darnold is the pick. This team takes 4 quarterbacks. Go ahead, man. When you have Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow, don't understand why you'd also take T-Law and Tua. Like maybe one if you've got the stack to justify it, but both, that's excessive. A little overkill. And here it is. Sam Darnold, pick 175. This is where like Darnold was going at the end of last season when people realized like, oh yeah, he's going to be the starter. He was being pumped up to like maybe like pick 160. And he fucking crushed. Granted, his situation is way worse this year, but in general, these late quarterbacks are probably going to offer good value. It's more of just a out of necessity type of pick when we have JSN. Anyway, we'll grab one more quarterback, probably Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is someone you can take unstacked if you really want to, because he does have rushing value. And it seems pretty much locked in at this point. Richardson is not the player to be drafting in the Colts quarterback room. That's for sure. Richardson seems completely washed, essentially. Would not bet on him playing more than like 2 games. And if he does, it's more so because Daniel Jones gets hurt, not because they're like giving Richardson the reins. I think Shane Steichen's on the hot seat as well. I think if the Colts have a bad year and they're like in contention for a high-end draft pick, I would expect Shane Steichen to potentially be fired. So that's our quarterback room. We have Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones. Running back, we have Gibbs, Bucky Irving, Najee Harris, Tyler Algier, Austin Eckler. Wide receiver, JSN, Xavier Worthy, George Pickens, Chris Godwin, Ricky Pearsall, Emeka Egbuka, David Njoku, and Dalton Kincaid are our 2 tight ends. So we're locked into receiver the rest of the way. Dante Thornton, a player I've liked since the draft, has been moving up, but not a necessary pick. I think it's probably better if we target some type of stack with Daniel Jones, more of a justification to have him, like A.D. Mitchell. And then we can also go MVS, Torrey Horton, and Demarcus Robinson. All of those players are vying for this roster. Those are the stacks at receiver we have left. I think I'll go A.D. Mitchell here. And then in general, I'm definitely preferring one of the Seattle receivers over Demarcus Robinson, because I think fading Cooper Kupp is a relatively wise decision. Kupp just can't stay healthy. The only question is, does MVS continue to somewhat thrive in the Clint Kubiak offense? He was the wide receiver 1 last year after Shaheed and Olave went down, and he did have some usable weeks. So for him to stay in the same system as he moves teams as a free agent, there is some reason for optimism. But in terms of like talent and just athletic profile, I'm by far in the camp of supporting Torrey Horton as the better selection. I'm much more on board with Torrey Horton than MVS generally. My exposure to Torrey Horton is actually like 13%. I have a lot of Torrey Horton. So perhaps we just fade that a little bit. Maybe it's not the most necessary investment again. Maybe we just go MVS. Because one thing we learned about Darnold, he does like to chuck it deep. Last year, he was very effective on play action, had a lot of deep targets down the field, and perhaps a rookie receiver that was drafted in the 5th round does struggle a little bit. But I'll bring up Torrey Horton one more time. I've mentioned him on the channel several times. He's fast, runs a 4.41. He's 6'3", 196. And if not for an injury last year, he was looking to repeat 1,130 yards and 8 touchdowns at Colorado State for the 3rd straight season. Only played 5 games. That's a big reason why he was not very good. So I really like this player. We are now on the clock. Drafted in the 5th round, though. I'm not going to go DeMarcus Robinson, that's for sure. The question is, do I go MVS or Torrey Horton? Nah, I'm just gonna put all my eggs in the Torrey Horton basket. We're gonna say F it and just swing for that fence. I could see him beating out MVS for more snaps. It's not like MVS has had much success in his career generally. There's a lot of drops with MVS. So let's bet on the rookie. We don't have really any rookies other than Egbuka on this team. So yeah, give me another rookie. We'll go Torrey Horton. I do prefer him in my gut more than MVS. So let's trust the intuition and go Torrey Horton. So this is the team. One last time, we have Purdy stacked up with Ricky Pearsall. We have Sam Darnold stacked up with JSN and Torrey Horton. And then we have Daniel Jones stacked up with A.D. Mitchell. At running back, we got Gibbs and Bucky Irving. Let's hope that's the pair we need. Najee Harris, Tyler Algier, Austin Eckler for some solid depth, but more so just like safety net appeal. And then receiver, a little bit risky, but with 8 players, I think it's decent. We got JSN, Xavier Worthy, George Pickens, Chris Godwin, Ricky Pearsall, Emeka Egbuka, A.D. Mitchell, Torrey Horton, and then at tight end, David Njoku, Dalton Kincaid. That's going to be it for this draft. Let's do one more, but I mentioned it earlier on. Y'all probably don't have any schnauzers left, even though I have one left. We're not going to do it on the stream. We're going to do a poodle, everyone. So if you're eligible, if you want to join me, you can click that button right now. I am on a 5-second delay, so I'm hopping in, and hopefully it aligns where you were not in the previous draft. I still have 10 spots left, now down to 9, and if you would like it, come get it. Hopefully I synced it up properly where you didn't click it too soon. That did happen on the Corgi. There were 2 people that wanted to join me in the Corgi and hit it just before I did. I was like one of the first people in the overflow. But down to 3 spots, $7 entry. Very good advance rates in this tournament. I think this is one of the best tournaments to be entering right now while you can get in. It's 2 out of 12, always the case in the initial pod. But then once you advance 1 out of 6 in week 15, 1 out of 5 in week 16, and then a 310-seat final, which is maybe a little bit bigger than I think it needs to be, but still relatively good odds. If you make the final, you make $300. If you finish top 30, you get $1,000. If you finish top 10, you get $4,000. And then if you finish first, you get $40K. So let's hope for the best. Let me know if you're in here. I see Albie is in with us. Recognize him at pick 8. If anybody else is in here, let me know. But we get pick 12, of course. Doomed to forever be drafting at pick 12. At least, seems like every stream, I get one pick at the bookend. So we will go a little crazy at times when we're at the bookend. I am one to do that. You got to wait 22 picks for your next one. If there's a player you really want, go ahead and take him, even if he's on the other side of the board. But looks like we have 19 viewers, only 4 likes. Hit that like button for me, y'all. Would appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, if you've enjoyed this live stream up to this point, hit that subscribe button as well. But if you just hopped in and one of the first things you hear is me asking you to subscribe, give it a few minutes. See if you actually enjoy the content before you hit subscribe. If you're just joining us, but at least hit the like button if you've been watching for a minute. Much appreciated. Looks like we jumped to 8 likes now. Thank you. Thank you. Anyways, Jamar Chase, Bijan, JJ, CD Lamb. It seems kind of official. The last couple days, I've seen Bijan go above Saquon a bunch of times, but this feels excessive. Malik Neighbors over Saquon? Whoa. That team at 6 must be ecstatic to get Saquon at pick 6. Albie, you're going to get Jahmyr Gibbs at 8. Fuck, that is a good omen there. Albie, you've gotten some great luck in some of these live streams. I remember that draft where you got CMC and Genty at pick 9 and 16. Now you get Gibbs at 8. Good for you, man. This is a weird room. We're getting Puka at pick 12. This feels excessive. So we'll grab the 2 round 1 selections. Not many teams have Puka and Nico. Let's go Puka and Nico. Hell yeah. This is an interesting lobby. Very strange round 1. Neighbors at 5, Saquon at 6, Gibbs at 8, Derrick Henry at 11, and Puka at 12. The fuck is happening in this lobby? This is very strange. I'm not going to complain about it. Very happy about that. Whew. Puka, Nico Collins. That feels good. That is nice. And blunt. It's both. Oh, wow. Yo, the chat froze on me, and the last comment I saw was that, do I think I've missed so many fucking comments on here. Holy shit. Fancy Dog wanted me to take Baker. Yeah, we probably gambled a little too hard there. Yeah, when Thornton was a undrafted round 18 pick, that was nice to be getting him. Now it seems like he'll be drafted in almost like 100%. Wow, I'm so late on the fucking chat. This thing like just refreshed. I apologize for ignoring the chat. I just thought no one was fucking commenting. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck's going on. That's an interesting take. Josh Reynolds is the number 2 receiver. Hopefully it works out. I still have some faith, some blind faith in Malachi Corley, but I think it's just because Steve Smith told me he was the steal of the draft last year. Albie is ecstatic for Gibbs. Makes plenty of sense. Real fantasy football talk. Should have grabbed London for the week 17 stack. Yeah, I know that's a decent combo to have, but in my view, the reason why I went Nico Collins there is because there's a lot more teams where Puka lines up with London that people draft. There are way fewer teams where I think Puka and Nico are going to be on the same squad. Like Puka's usually going pick 7, 8, 9, and it's far more often that London is available in round 2 to the Puka team, whereas for Nico to fall that far is like very, very unlikely. So yes, I totally agree. In week 17, that stack is extremely valuable and one that I would like to covet. Love when I can start Puka London, but for the sake of being unique and having a less rostered combo, that's why I went with Nico Collins there. That's the reason. But I don't see much of a difference between London and Nico, straight up. So you could be right. That could be the much better decision. I think we'll make this a Josh Allen team. I think so. Don't have a shit ton of Josh Allen. I don't really like to go elite quarterback in general, but fuck it, we'll take him. And then, like I've said, I'm gonna pull from the other side of the board. We're gonna grab Kittle. We're gonna ignore running back a little bit. I think I'm gonna double tap running back at the next round and try and get an elite tight end here. We'll go Kittle. I'm not dying to draft James Cook right now. I'm much more in the Ray Davis camp than I am the James Cook camp. But when I'm at pick 12, I like to do something insane. I like to I like to pull a player up drastically. And if there's one guy I think is kind of worth it, it's probably Kittle. In the next 2 rounds, a guy like Kittle is hard to replicate at any stage in the draft. So let's do it. We'll go elite onesie position with Puka and Nico, and then we'll probably try and target Stroud later on. Fancy dog, I know about those Steve Smith takes. Yeah, I guess he was probably the big driving force as to why Malachi Corley was so drafted last year. Like, Malachi Corley was going to like pick 160 last season. Malachi Corley was one of the biggest disappointments in all of fantasy last season. Like, him and Ben Sinnott gave us absolute bagels. Huge disappointments last year. But I'm still holding out hope. Josh Reynolds feels like a low ceiling type of option, but in general, the number 2 receiver for Justin Fields is not a valuable player. In general, that's usually not going to happen. So James Cook goes pick 46. Cook has been kind of falling. He's still around 4 pick, but he used to be that like early round 4 pick, around pick 37, 38. Now going at 46. Yeah, there was a lot of hype on Leggett as well. But Leggett took forever to actually break out in college. It's not a surprise that he took forever to break out in his rookie season. But Leggett was more of like a touchdown machine for a little while. Also, his like touchdown celebration is really fun to watch. He like pretends to ride a horse and he's just like galloping with his legs. Those interviews with Leggett, his accent is just so thick. He's so fun to listen to. And then he literally eats raccoons. Xavier Leggett is just a 1 in a billion type of human being. If aliens come down to Earth, I nominate Jameis Winston and Xavier Leggett to be the first people to communicate with them to represent our human race. Jameis Winston and Xavier Leggett and some Martians. Now that is a sitcom I'd like to watch. I was hoping for Mix in there. Okay, we'll go Waddle. Actually, no, we mentioned we're probably going to try and double tap running back. So we should grab Walker. We should grab a running back here, at least one. Fine, I'll go Waddle. Like I mentioned, I prefer him in round 6 than round 5. It's officially round 6, so we'll take Waddle. But the injury concerns on both Walker and Waddle kind of a little higher than I would like. Marshawn Lynch as well. Sam Elliott. That would be a fun show. just Jameis Winston and Xavier Legette regardless. And then like midway through the first season, the aliens just show up, just dropping down and like tractor beam them in, give them all the knowledge of the universe. And then Jameis Winston and Legette are now tasked with relaying this information to the rest of the human population. Their IQs just get boosted and their brains just like grow exponentially, but their accents and their like the way that they speak doesn't change at all. Like they just have all these answers, but they talk in idioms that no one understands. Sam Cassell. I think I know who Sam Cassell is, but I feel like I have to Google it because I feel like I'm thinking of somebody else in my mind. Oh, okay. Old basketball player. Yeah, that's not who I was thinking of at all. I don't know enough about Sam Cassell. Played for the Celtics. I'm not gonna know about old Celtics players very much. I'm a Laker fan, so might as well just be blasphemy in my household. Anyways, this was a very interesting start to this draft with Puka, Nico, Allen, Kittle, and then Walker, Waddle. We'll see what happens. But team 2 with Bijan, hammering receiver. Otherwise, is there anything that's like insane? That team with Saquon also hammering receiver with the anchor RB. Albie, you got some nice Week 17 correlation with GSN, Tet McMillan, and Chuba Hubbard. That'll be an interesting matchup. As long as weather's not bad in Carolina, that should be a decent high-scoring game. We got the Darnold revenge game. But perhaps that Seahawks defense does kind of limit some of the production from the Panthers. That'll be an interesting game to watch, though, for sure. So far I have like no Week 17 correlation on my team. If Golden falls another 2 picks, I'll happily draft Golden, but likely does not happen. We'll grab one of these running backs. Ideally, it's Pacheco. We got a shot at Golden. What is Majo going to do? Probably drafts Golden for the correlation between Baltimore and Green Bay. No, they go Pollard. That's phenomenal for me. Love the value on Golden here. Happily going to take him. And then I think because we started Puka and Nico, I don't think I am forced to grab a receiver here, although I know for a fact it's going to be kind of brutal. We ignored running back for a little too long. Let's go with Pacheco. We have a shit ton of Ayuk already, a shit ton of Mooney already, 2 of my like most drafted wide receivers. I have a lot of Pacheco as well, so I'm comfortable taking him here, but if it wasn't for like a lack of running back depth, I'd probably go receiver instead. Yeah, I kind of regret the Josh Allen Kittle combo a little bit, but just couldn't help myself. Shamrock asking, what's the advantage of correlation? So in this tournament in best ball, your upside in the fantasy playoffs, especially week 17, is where you make the biggest return on investment. Having the highest score possible in week 17 is where all of the money is made. Having a high score in week 17 is the difference between only bringing home $300 in this tournament and bringing home first prize and 40,000. Therefore, to have the highest score in week 17, you need to make certain bets and assume that they're correct. And one of those bets is essentially the game of week 17 that's going to be a shootout is the one I want to be invested in the most. And we don't know for a fact which game that's going to be. You can think you know today, but sometimes it's a game that you don't expect it to be. Like, you might think it's going to be Eagles versus Bills. That's the highest scoring game. And then surprise, surprise, it's Raiders versus Giants in week 17. That's the highest scoring game. So in order to increase your shot on drafting the correct shootout, you want players in that matchup that will be going up against each other and hopefully scoring touchdowns at will. You know, if we get remember several years ago where the Rams and the Chiefs with Goff versus Mahomes was like a 53, 51 point game. If you have all the players in that matchup that fucking light up the scoreboard, you are way more likely to have the higher end of the point thresholds in this tournament. So if we're making the bet on Puka in week 17, then it's probably worth it to also bet on London in week 17, as the Falcons will go toe-to-toe with the Rams in a potential shootout in the Dome. So that's what someone in the comments was saying I should have done in the second round by drafting London instead of Nico. But sometimes that bet doesn't happen. In general, the stack that you want is the quarterback and receiver. That's the best stack to get. But there's also the correlation that one team will go off and then the other team will also score a lot of points. Maybe they're in garbage time. Maybe it's just a back and forth shootout. But regardless, you're hoping that you're betting on the highest scoring game of the week, and touchdowns are the name of the game in half PPR best ball. That is where the correlation of those matchups does pay off in terms of return on investment. But Keon Coleman goes 104. I was really hoping for Keon, but kind of expected not to get him. Keon has been moving up the board consistently lately, and it's pretty rare that you get him at the end of round 9. So we're not going to have receivers stacked up with Josh Allen. Didn't really want to reach on Keon a full 2 rounds. Albie takes him. We needed him to fall 4 more picks. But even if Albie didn't take him, he probably would have gone off at 105, 106, or 107 here. This team also only has 4 receivers. So I've been a little bit behind on receiver. I think I'm going to queue up Christian Kirk and then grab Stroud around the next turn, because all the receivers at this end are kind of like in a similar boat. I don't feel like that crazy about any particular one. I'm probably reaching on Kirk a little too much, but we're setting ourselves up for the Stroud stack. Yeah, I'll just take Tyrone Tracy. I prefer Scattaboo, but Tracy falls a little bit. We need running back. We'll grab Tyrone. I did not get any like good values there at that turn, so pretty sad clicks in my opinion. This team is not really one of my favorites. In general, I kind of just regret drafting Josh Allen a lot of the time because like you pass on a lot of good receivers. But I think taking Kittle was like the big mistake that I made here, because I'm not even like correlating him with any other Niners. I think I really fucked up in rounds 3, 4. That's okay. We do have elite options at those positions, so they both have 30-point ceilings. Allen has access to like 50 points. So hopefully Josh Allen scores a bunch of touchdowns on the ground in that week, and not having a receiver to stack is going to work out. But the picks I'm planning to make at the next turn are going to be Stroud and Kincaid. ADP 135, 138. We're picking 132, 133. So hopefully they don't get sniped, but I think we'll be all right. That's usually going to be available to me. Oh, I still have this comment from Shamrock up. Whoops. Sometimes it's a bit overrated, the correlation concerns. It's not the end of the world if you don't have it, but it's something to consider. Rodman? Yeah, for sure. The super flex drafts are fun. They're definitely different. I am of the mindset that where I'm trying to get the most like elite running backs. I'm usually drafting a quarterback in round 1 and round 3. And then in the first like 8 rounds, I also want like 4 high-end starting running backs. And I kind of fade receiver a little bit. At least on Underdog, receiver's way less valuable in the Superflex drafts compared to regular drafts. You can get away with only starting 2 receivers in those Superflex teams, whereas you can start as many as 4 running backs. And in general, there's more running backs with like a 20-point path for success than there are receivers. But it's been a minute since I've done one on the stream. It's been a while. The only thing about those tournaments on the Superflex in Underdog is the ADP is like absolute trash in the first couple days. And then by the time you hit like the 5th day of the tournament, it has completely adjusted. And then there aren't any like insane deals available if you're just drafting on ADP. You can still draft some really good teams, but you can also get like way, way luckier in the first couple days of the tournament compared to drafting it right now. And that's why I kind of cool it after the first like 3 days of the Superflex tournaments, because the ADP is just like so effed up early on, because it's still like it still assumes that it's the same ADP as like the other drafts that are non-Superflex. And so like sometimes you can get a Jared Goff in like the 4th round or something, where like normally he'd be going late 2nd or something. Like the ADP is just so strange in those. But yeah, well, maybe I cool it on Kincaid. We drafted Kincaid in the last one. I'm definitely taking Stroud. We took Christian Kirk. I think I'm forced to go with Stroud, but I don't like my running back room at all. And I already have Kittle, so I don't think I need to take Kincaid here. There's so many good values at tight end. Meanwhile, we're passing on Njoku and Loveland, which doesn't feel like a wise choice. I'm going to go Ray Davis. And we are once again betting against James Cook. We go Ray Davis for the Bills correlation instead of Kincaid. With Kittle, I think that's probably a wiser decision. I've ignored running back a little too much. But creations super flexing on us. Reflect the Sun, thank you for joining us. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Peace out. Let me get back to the board. Sorry. Fantasy Dog saying I messed up my draft late. Baltimore, Miami, Las Vegas. Missed Hopkins at 192. Hoping Thornton falls to 216, 211 ADP. Usually, you can get Thornton stacked up with Geno. That's usually what drives his ADP. Like, it has been moving up, and some people take him unstacked. Like, I'll do it sometimes, but in general, the people drafting Thornton are the ones who also draft Geno. So usually you can get him in that 17th round, but I have seen him bump up to the 16th round at times. Terry R. saying, I'm stuck on this trade. Trade away Jacobs and Worthy to acquire James Cook and Higgins. Is it T. Higgins or Jaden Higgins? I assume it's T. Higgins, but I'm not totally sure. There's 2 Higgins it could be. Your team has Burrow, Nico, Ladd, Jacobs, Connor, McBride, Worthy. Bench has Pollard, Etienne, Tracy, Downs, Shakir, Myers, and Dobbins. It's half PPR, and it is T. Higgins. So trading away Josh Jacobs and Xavier Worthy to acquire James Cook and T. Higgins. Okay, so my consideration with acquiring T. Higgins is that he usually misses time. That's the only problem with T. Higgins. However, with his recent contract extension, he's going to stay with Joe Burrow, and that feels like a very, very good investment to have. Josh Jacobs is like 27 years old. Meanwhile, James Cook is like 24. So at running back, you're getting the younger player. Let me make sure I'm correct on that. Okay, James Cook is about to turn 26 in September, so he's a little bit older than I thought. And then Jacobs turns 28 in February. So about 2 years difference. Jacobs is a little bit older. Worthy is considerably younger than T. Higgins. And James Cook also has a contract dispute looming this year. So I think in terms of risk, the floor is lower with the James Cook T. Higgins team. But I think if it's dynasty, I think long term, you probably have a little bit more potential. Oh, it's a redraft team. Yeah, that's an interesting trade there. I think I'd rather have Jacobs this year than James Cook. I think it's a much safer investment. And then Worthy in redraft, in season long, I mean, is kind of a difficult like plug into your lineup. So you're definitely improving at receiver. You also have Burrow. I think I would take the James Cook T. Higgins side. I think for the T. Higgins Joe Burrow stack, I think that's where I would lean. And then you also get a little bit younger at running back. Give me 1 second while I make this pick, and then I'll give you my full opinion on this. We're grabbing Josh Palmer for sure. We have Josh Allen. And then Jaden Blue's been free falling, but I'm not really like a huge believer in Jaden Blue. I'll go Bigsby with the hope that he has a relatively decent role in Jacksonville. My running back room's a bit cooked. Like, Walker needs to be a stud, can't go down. Pacheco needs to stay healthy. Tracy, risky pick. Ray Davis has tremendous upside, but James Cook could be healthy. And then Tank Bigsby. Boy, I feel like I kind of squandered this early start with Puka and Nico, but it is what it is. Yeah, back to your question, Terry. I think it's a fair trade overall. I don't really lean like heavily in one direction. The only thing that makes me a little bit favoring the T. Higgins side is I feel a little bit more confident starting T. Higgins on a weekly basis than I do Xavier Worthy. Xavier Worthy can give you like a 2-point game in like 3 straight weeks and then pop off for like 35 points. And then his average will be like, 11 points per game, but it's really leading to a bit more losses than as if you were just starting T. Higgins, who like straight up averaged 11 points per game as well. So I don't see like a huge difference at running back. While I slightly favor Jacobs, I definitely prefer Higgins over Worthy. And I think that is the selling point for me in this trade. You have Joe Burrow, you have Nico Collins, and Ladd. I think I would take the T. Higgins side of this trade. But it's kind of close. But I prefer the James Cook T. Higgins side. And then you just got to hope that James Cook does not hold out. It probably doesn't happen. He doesn't have that much bargaining power. My main concern is for James Cook this year is that he waits as long as he can and doesn't show up to camp and practice like enough. And then in like September, he's a bit out of shape. and then that leads to like an early injury and he misses time. That's one of the reasons why I'm investing in Ray Davis so much, because usually a contract holdout can lead to some lack of preparation for the regular season. Like think about Brandon Ayuk last year. But it looks like James Cook is kind of like holding in a little bit more, and odds are it gets sorted out and he plays on the contract anyways. So a little bit of extra risk with James Cook over Josh Jacobs, but not a massive difference between the two. Granted, a pretty sizable difference and advantage with T. Higgins over Xavier Worthy. Albie got sniped on Bryce Young. Ooh, yeah, just one pick. That's unfortunate. You can backstack Bryce Young, but this team is not doing it. They also sniped me on Jalen Noel. So that team at 7 is sniping us both. Shamrock asking, do I have a time I usually stream, or is it sporadic? I usually do Monday, Tuesday, Friday around 2:30 p.m. Pacific time. So on the East Coast, that'd be 5 p.m., 5:30 p.m. West Coast, 2:30 to like 3 p.m. I think we'll take Gesicki. That feels fine. And then we've got the 5 running backs. I think I'll draft Michael Wilson. Michael Wilson's going to be on the field more than Alec Pierce. And although Michael Wilson has been like a big letdown, Pierce was like a nothing burger before last year too. And hopefully in year 3, Michael Wilson can pop a little bit more. But in general, I don't really love this team. Team 12 is usually kind of difficult, but if the elite upside of Josh Allen does not hit, paired with the elite upside of George Kittle does not hit, then I just fuck this team over in that round 3-4 turn. I did not do myself any favors by reaching on Kittle and also taking Allen. Can't say I'm really happy with this team. And that's just kind of the name of the game. Like, you're going to be drafting some bad teams in general. Even if you draft a really good team, there's a chance it doesn't make any money either. So, worth trying some stuff out. But, yeah, this is usually why I don't take the elite quarterback or elite tight end that often. But if anything, I should not be taking them together. That's where I fucked up. Taking one is probably fine. Taking 2 together is not that smart. Got a little ahead of myself. Trying to do some bold shit out of the 12 hole. But let's take a look at Albie's team. He's drafting with us. He goes Gibbs, A-Chain, JSN, Tet, Chuba, Godwin, Pearsall, Baker, Keon, Jonnu Smith, Tajay, Tua, Tillman, Hunter Henry, Nick Chubb, Kate Otten. I think you have some good picks, Albie, on this team. Pretty solid. Your receiving core is maybe not elite, but decent. Obviously, running back is elite. You're kind of in a tough spot there at 56 where all the receivers you could take are really lukewarm and underwhelming. But such a strong running back core kind of compensates for any minor holes you might have elsewhere. But receiver's the only big red flag on your team. Like Keon as the 5th, Tillman as the 6th. Might be relying on them a little bit too much to feel that comfortable. But yeah, not a bad team. Not bad at all. I like your team a little bit better than mine. I am not happy with my team. But it's 3:45. We got 2 picks left. I'll probably do one more. I'll probably do one more for the sake of the stream. That 25% deposit bonus, I did take advantage of that. So I have more money in my account than I generally do. I have good bye week management. Yeah. Yeah, that's what's going to save me. The bye week management. um let's see. I think we'll draft one more running back, one more receiver. There are no more Bills that we really want. None of them speak to me. If he's there, I guess I'll just take Calvin Austin. Say F it. He is a deep threat, got some speed. But in general, I'm usually preferring Roman Wilson a little bit more. I think Roman Wilson's more talented. Austin gets sniped. Okay, we'll just take Slayton then. I'm comfortable with Slayton. And then running back. F it. We'll go back to the well on Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt. I've generally been fading Brian Robinson a lot. I think JCM has some potential, but he's a 7th round pick. He probably does absolutely fucking nothing. So Josh Allen, CJ Stroud on this team, Kenneth Walker, Pacheco, Tyrone Tracy, Ray Davis for a minor stack, kind of an irrelevant one though. Tank Bigsby and Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt for a swing for the fence. At wide receiver, we started off very strong and then kind of flailed. And this receiving core is not bad. We got Puka, Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, Matthew Golden, Christian Kirk, Josh Palmer, Michael Wilson, and Darius Slayton. And then tight end is George Kittle and Mike Gesicki. So if Kittle and Josh Allen just fucking crush, then this team has a shot. The receiving core should be okay, but I really don't feel confident with my running back room. It's fine, but it doesn't give me a lot of confidence. But to pretend like I know exactly what is a great team at this stage, like we could just get lucky and this team could actually work out and pay off pretty well. But it feels a little bit underwhelming. Not that excited about it. In general, teams out of the 12 hole don't give me a fuck ton of confidence. But we'll do one more like I mentioned. I'll do one more poodle. If you want to join me, you can. But it looks like there's an ad running right now. So I'm going to give it just a moment. Just a moment. Don't click the button yet. Don't click it yet. I'm going to wait for this ad to finish up. Actually, I'm going to hit the skip ads button. There we go. Ads are done. Okay. We're doing one more poodle. If you would like to join me, hit the button and I will hop in as well. 11 spots. I'm the first one in. Hopefully you're not the last one in the previous draft if you really wanted to join me. But yeah, that has happened before. Maybe since it's happened a few times where I'm like one of the first people in these new lobbies, maybe I should just stop giving you guys the like delay warning. Maybe I should just join and then you guys can just decide if you want to get into the lobby, if there's even like space for it. But this one is taking some time. Still only at 10 spots. Anyways, if y'all have any questions, feel free to let them rip. Looks like in the comment section of my NFC North win-loss pick video, some people were disagreeing. Some people did not like my takes. But I really think that the Lions are probably going to fall down to like 11 or 10 wins this season. Lions have a brutal schedule. It's not that I think the Packers are like substantially a better team than them, but I think they have way more consistent way more consistency across the board on their team and an easier schedule as well. Third place schedule always easier than a first place schedule. And that's why I think the Packers can win the division this year, even at just 10 wins. Vikings probably fall off a little bit with McCarthy. Bears, too many moving pieces, rookie head coach. I don't think they have a winning record that puts them like firmly in the playoff picture. It's either Lions or Packers taking the division, in my opinion, and willing to take a swing that the Lions and that tough, brutal schedule leads to enough tiebreakers in favor of Green Bay, who were the third place in their division, but still had like 12 wins. They were a very good team last season, even though they didn't make any noise. Anyway, here we are at pick 5. That's nice. Who knows? Maybe we get Saquon at pick 5. That's been trending as he moves down the board. But this will be like my 6th or 7th poodle. I've at least done 5 of these. I think this is going to be number 6. And now that I've done several, I should probably take a peek at like what teams I've already drafted. You don't want like a ton of exactly similar teams in this tournament because you can only draft like 20 teams max, and if 3 of them have like the same start in the first like 4 rounds, that might not be the wisest way to go. But it could be the correct start, and then mixing up some of the later round players gives you some more variance. You're never going to draft the exact identical team. There's no way all 18 rounds are going to be exactly the same over and over again. So maybe I shouldn't care at all. Maybe I'm overreacting, but in general, I like to have completely different teams in terms of my exposure in a given tournament. Bijan goes, we'll take CeeDee Lamb. We have enough Gibbs in general. We'll go CeeDee Lamb. Start off with an anchor receiver. Try and keep ourselves balanced. But if we rewind a week or two ago, on a team I took CeeDee Lamb, we ended up drafting Zay Flowers in the 5th round, where we passed on George Pickens. And then I remember when I took Dak Prescott, I was like, yeah, I probably should have grabbed Pickens to pair with Lamb. Their defense is probably not going to be elite. It's just a question of, will Dak like have a fall off at all? Will Dak kind of get back to an MVP candidate like he was 2 years ago? Or will coming off an injury kind of derail his season? I think he's going to start off a bit slow. But their run game is kind of non-existent, so you know their offense is going to run through the passing game. So round 5, probably going to plan for George Pickens on this team. And then Cowboys play Washington in week 17, so maybe this is a Jaden Daniels team. If Daniels is there at 44, that's also a consideration. We'll see. Bowers gets taken. I'll mix it up. I'll go Josh Jacobs. These 3 running backs that go back to back to back here, I kind of view all the same. We took Bucky earlier in this live stream at pick, like, what was it, 18? We'll go Jacobs this time. Next time we have this decision, I'll go Taylor. They're all fine picks. But Jacobs usually goes last, so he's probably a little bit less common with Lamb. Just a little bit less common. That team at 2 goes Lamar Jackson. Okay, so we might get a value at receiver. T. Higgins goes 27. Not like a tremendous value, though. For week 17, I should probably take Terry McLaurin, but I'll grab Garrett Wilson instead. Not a massive preference between these players, but a few more added pieces in Washington. And although Terry's floor is extremely high, like Terry's locked into 1,000 yards receiving, but he probably doesn't really go over 1,100 by much. Meanwhile, Garrett Wilson has far less target competition. He has pre-existing chemistry with Justin Fields back to their Ohio State days. And with Devontae Adams leaving, there is room for more upside. I think the ceiling on Garrett Wilson is a bit higher. The floor is lower than Terry, that's for sure, but not by much. And I'm willing to take that swing. Garrett Wilson's not a player I get like crazy in the third round. I would like a little bit more of Garrett Wilson. I could see a world where he like absolutely crushes. I'm just a bit worried about the touchdown production. That's the main concern. But Fields is gonna target him like crazy. There's just nobody else to really threaten him. Like the biggest threat is Breece Hall, and those are completely different types of targets. Next biggest threat is Mason Taylor, and then the only other hype we have on any other player is Josh Reynolds, reportedly. Garrett Wilson is live to get like 170 targets this year. That's likely going to happen. So, in round 3, all these receivers are kind of the same. I'll just take him. I like drafting Fields, so giving myself an excuse to draft Justin Fields is always something I feel good about. Love the price point on Justin Fields. Anyways, Metcalf goes off. DJ Moore falling just a little bit. I guess we'll go DJ Moore. Not the best vibes in Chicago surrounding DJ Moore right now, but falls 4 spots. Should be their best receiver. Should put up the most fancy points in Chicago. And that should be an offense that is valuable in fantasy. So we'll take him as he falls. We got a bit of a discount on Garrett Wilson, so perhaps pulling from the left side of the board and drafting DJ Moore, a little bit less likely to occur on the average CeeDee Lamb team. So let's make it happen. We go Lamb, Jacobs, Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore. Balanced start. We can go in just about any direction, but like we mentioned, we're probably targeting George Pickens with our next pick. He will need to fall a little bit, though, from ADP. But who knows? Maybe Travis Hunter makes his way to us. 2 of these teams only have 1 wide receiver, so we probably do not get either of these players. Hunter goes, I expect Pickens to come off. So it is what it is, but who knows? Maybe not. Yeah, Pickens gets taken. We'll go Chuba Hubbard. I'm lightweight on Chuba Hubbard, and that feels misguided. We only have Jacobs, so we could definitely use another running back. And the only other running back I think might be more valuable than Chuba Hubbard in this range is Joe Mixon, but Mixon has a walking boot right now. It's still late June. He's probably fine, but he is a little bit older. He's 29 years old. Kamara's 30. Those are probably the two guys that might outscore Chuba, but Chuba's role is pretty much locked in. He got a big extension last year. He was really effective. And although they brought in Rico Dowdle and drafted Trevor Etienne, I still think Chuba's going to be that workhorse in that offense. I believe that the Panthers offense will be decent. I think the Panthers could actually win their division this year. Spoiler alert. You might see that in an upcoming video when I make my win-loss picks on the NFC South. Albie loves Kamara in this space. He's not a bad pick, but in general, you can get him in round 6. Like right now, he's still on the board at pick 61. So I'm not dying to reach on him in order to get him. I'm worried about his age. I'm worried about Kellen Moore not really valuing a pass-catching running back. Like, if you go back to Kellen Moore's season with the Chargers, where he had Austin Eckler coming off like 100-yard reception season, Eckler fell off a cliff in terms of receptions with Kellen Moore. Like, let's look at Eckler in his final year with the Chargers. The year prior, Eckler had 127 targets, 107 catches. With Kellen Moore, granted he played 3 fewer games, those numbers in terms of receptions got cut in half. Only 51 catches with Kellen Moore's system. That is my concern for Alvin Kamara, that the target share is going to fall off in Kellen Moore's offense. Henderson is falling. You know I love Henderson. I might go Henderson here. Because can't say I'm like in love with Judy or Debo at this range. We have 3 good receivers already. I think we're going to just take Travion Henderson. Yeah, the running backs in this range are all fine. I like them too. But if there's one I don't feel like ecstatic about reaching on at pick 53, it's Kamara. But the odds that Kamara falls back around to 68 is very slim. The thing is, I view Travion Henderson in the same tier as even Chuba Hubbard and Kamara and Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker. I think Travion has the same caliber ceiling as those guys as well. And Travion is a guy that falls. So I like the way it worked out for me with Josh Jacobs as our number 1, Chuba as our number 2, Travion as our number 3. I think if you get Travion as your number 3 running back, you have a very, very good trio at that position. You can definitely feel confident only drafting 5 over the course of the entire draft. And you can also feel confident kind of like ignoring the position for like 6 or 7 rounds if you wanted to, just to get good values on all the other spots. But if Jacoby Myers is there, I'll happily take Myers, but he gets taken at 74, right as I mention it. He comes off the board. I'll probably pass on Debo. Not dying to draft Debo very much. We have an investment in Green Bay, so I could take either Golden or Jaden Reed. Reed is off the board, so that puts us in line for Golden. Yeah, I'd rather draft Golden than Debo right now. I'll leave Debo for someone else. So the team I think is very balanced, pretty strong so far. We have Josh Jacobs, Chuba Hubbard, and Travion Henderson. That's a very good running back core. And then receiver with CeeDee Lamb as the one. We can kind of get away with some risk. Meanwhile, I think there's very high ceilings for all these guys. A little bit of risk with Golden, but Garrett Wilson should be a target monster. DJ Moore should be fine, and maybe they flash him his usage a little bit extra in the early season as a potential trade candidate. You know they've been investing in pass catchers enough to maybe move off of one of their guys. And even if Ben Johnson kind of shit talks him, it should be a good motivating factor um, to get him a little bit involved. Should play a little bit better if his job is at all on the line. But DJ Moore definitely the safest floor of any Bears wideout. So we have pretty good stacking options. We can draft Dak Prescott. We can also draft Jordan Love. We can draft Caleb or Justin Fields. You could technically also go with Bryce Young or Drake May on this team. A lot of flexibility still open to us on this roster. Very balanced so far. But looks like we'll probably get a good value on receiver here. We might even get Ayuk, who's falling right now. Mooney goes. I would have liked Mooney, honestly, a little bit more than Ayuk. I'd take a shit ton of Ayuk. Kind of want to go Jaden Higgins a little bit, but I think we have a good enough receiving core. I can risk the Ayuk pick here. Falls to pick 92, good discount. And then if he is healthy enough, pretty much any Niners receiver has a 25-point ceiling any given week. They're going to flip-flop a lot. There's going to be weeks where Ayuk is irrelevant and Pearsall and Jawan go off a lot higher than he does. But then there's also going to be a week after where Ayuk has that wide receiver one role. It's going to be matchup dependent, and hopefully we just get lucky in the right spots. But Ayuk should be fine at the end of the season. With the receiving core I have, I'm not really counting on him early on in the year. So probably would have gone Mooney there if available, but Ayuk was the highest on the ADP. And he's one of my favorites. Can't quit Ayuk, even after some brutal production last season. God, he was bad last year. Oh, Justin Fields gets sniped. That's a bummer. Bo Nix goes. We'll draft Keon Coleman. Yeah, just fill in this receiving core. With these 6, I feel like I could potentially get away with 6. I'll draft a 7th for sure. Whichever quarterback we take, we'll try and stack him later on. But this is a very strong receiving core with Lamb, Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, Matthew Golden, Brandon Ayuk, and Keon Coleman. Keon is my preferred option in best ball. He is much more of a deep shot type of guy. And as his ADP has been rising a little bit, I want to try and keep getting him wherever I can in the 9th round, because sooner or later he'll just be an 8th round pick, and I don't like that anywhere near as much as round 9, Keon Coleman. So would have gone Justin Fields for sure had he not been taken. That team at number 2, Jar King, grabs him unstacked. Just wanted some rushing upside. He reached on Lamar unstacked as well. Oh, but no, he set up Zay Flowers. So Yeah, just wanted a rushing value at QB. I don't blame him. I do think Justin Fields is a very good pick here, but kind of disappointing that we get sniped. It is what it is. We still have multiple stacking options. I doubt Purdy wraps back around for Ayuk, but we have 2 Packers. We're probably going to grab Jordan Love on this roster. We also have Dak Prescott as an option, but Drake May goes. I was kind of more interested in a potential Drake May combo with Travion. I think Henderson could catch a lot of passes this year. Maybe not like Kamara level passes. I'd be kind of shocked if he like eclipsed 50 receptions, but with his speed, I think after the catch he could break some like 40, 50-yard touchdowns on some screens. So Caleb off the board, Purdy off the board. Our stacks are dwindling, but Dak is still there. If we don't get sniped here on Dak, that's definitely the pick, even with Andrews falling. Boy, that team with Lamar might get super lucky with Andrews. Anyway, what does Wing Lover do? I go Charbonnet. We'll take Dak for sure. We have CeeDee Lamb, so 100% justified. And this will open us up for a Jake Ferguson, a Jalen Tolbert later on. Allie's saying Wing Lover has a killer wide receiver team. What does Wing Lover have? They got Adams, Jamo, Ridley, Addison, and Mooney. Yeah, what a value on Addison and Mooney. Holy shit. Antwall said push Dak, Andrews week 17 bring back. Definitely a possible pick. Looks like Andrews continues to fall. Maybe Andrews comes all the way back around. I just knew that team with Pickens right in front of me was also viable for Dak Prescott, and that's why I didn't want to risk it, Ant. We got sniped on Pickens in round 5, and that team only has Bo Nix. So I think that team at 4 was pretty viable to, with 2 picks, grab Dak themselves. I did not want to risk it. Jordan Love goes. Wow, what a bummer. Jonnu falls. I think we'll just take Jonnu. We do not have tight end, so I'll grab Jonnu as he moves down. Like I've said before, I think the price drop on Jonnu is a bit egregious, but pretty much all the price drops on every tight end feel excessive, other than maybe Kelsey. Yeah, there have been some key snipes, some reaches on QB. I'm glad I did not risk it with Dak, especially knowing that team sniped us on Love. But I understand the logic for sure on the Andrews, but I've been trending much more in favor of Isaiah Likely last few weeks. I think mentally I'm much more inclined to be targeting Isaiah Likely than Andrews at this point. I'm comfortable taking Andrews, that's for sure. I'm surprised the team with Lamar didn't take him. That was pretty shocking. The team with Lamar passed for Ramondre. Like, what? That feels dumb. Glad they got sniped. They deserve to get sniped for passing on Andrews at 119. But Jonnu has massive upside. If you didn't have Jonnu on your team, if you did not pick him up off the waiver wire last year, you might not be aware, but Jonnu was fucking elite. Jonnu led my team to a fantasy championship. Even though I did bench him week 17 for Chig Okonkwo. Okonkwo had an elite matchup and did give me 8 points. Jonnu gave me like 9.7, so was able to win without him. It was a fair trade-off. Okonkwo had like 8.5 points with no touchdown, and then Jonnu got bailed out in like the last 4 minutes of the game with a touchdown. Otherwise, he was like barely like 3 points earlier in the game. Which tournament am I doing, Ryan? I'm doing the Poodle right now. I think we'll snipe that team with Lamar on likely as well. Actually, no. Never mind. I'm going to take Jake Ferguson. There's 2 teams without a tight end, and that's why I'm taking one right here. I'm going to take Ferguson for the Dak Prescott stack. Although, generally, I'd rather be drafting likely, but my stack kind of forces it. Both of those teams with no tight end do pass. That's kind of interesting. Now the team with Lamar grabs likely. They have an elite tight end core, but at the expense of their other positions. Yeah, running back and receiver is going to be rough on that team. Am I doing another draft after this? I don't think so, Ryan. This is my 3rd of the stream. I think I'm going to call it at 3. I think so. But we've got a very good receiving core on this team. We're kind of thin at QB. We have 3 good running backs. But why is Hollywood falling like a rock? That doesn't make sense. I'll take Hollywood as my last receiver. Yeah, we'll do that. So receiving core is very strong here. We got CeeDee Lamb, Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, Matthew Golden, Brandon Ayuk, Keon Coleman, and then at a 17 pick discount, we go Hollywood Brown as our 7th. Tight end, we have Jonnu Smith, Jake Ferguson. I think that's good enough to call it done, but given I'm only drafting 7 receivers on this team, I might grab a 3rd. We're going to need 2 more quarterbacks. Granted, we don't really have any. Oh, we could go Tua, potentially. Oh, did Tua already get taken? I feel like Tua's already taken. Yeah, Tua got sniped at 145. All right, so this team is just very, very dependent on Dak. That's okay. But Antwall says Bryce Young. Bryce Young just went off the board at 154. Not going to get him. But I do really like the price on Bryce Young. I think he's a really good pick this year. He closed out the season really strong. Was like a top 12 quarterback in the last like 6-7 weeks. Granted, some other quarterbacks just kind of underperformed. I think his point average was a little bit like underwhelming, but he was giving you about like 17 and a half, 18 points per game in the final stretch of the year. The last 6-7 weeks, Bryce Young was actually really, really valuable in fantasy, and it was mainly because of his rushing value. He had a lot of rushing touchdowns. I think he had like 4 rushing touchdowns in those last 6 games, averaging like 25 rushing yards per game as well. So if he can repeat in that department, he will absolutely pay off at his ADP. But I think it's kind of just forcing my hand here. The quarterback position is really dried up. So I think I'm just going to take Stafford, even though he's unstacked, and just grab like a Tutu Atwell later on. I think that's what I'm going to do here. Kind of gross, a little unjustified. Bit of a weird pick. But we just got sniped repeatedly on all the quarterbacks I was targeting. So it is what it is. I'll grab a... Oh, we mentioned we're kind of done on receiver, so we'll see. Maybe Terrence Ferguson is in line for this roster. Hoping for Braylon Allen here, because we have Chuba not trying to handcuff him with Dowdle. I'll go Braylon Allen. There are some reports from some credible reporters that Braylon Allen's going to be more involved in this offense. And when it comes to the playmakers that they have, there's not that many names in general that have more appeal in the Jets offense than Braylon Allen. Once you get past Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, like, Braylon Allen's probably a better decision to give the ball to than Josh Reynolds. You know what I'm saying? So let's hope that is an accurate report and does work out for us. Some kind of strange vibes with Breece Hall entering year 4. But Braylon's very young. There's still some untapped potential with Braylon Allen. He's like 21 years old. So could still pop in a big way. But all these handcuffs at this point are risky. No one's a sure bet. We have 3 picks left. We need another running back for sure. DJ Giddens off the board, but someone I was considering. Antwall says Jarquez Hunter could be the pass catcher. I sure hope so. We'll maybe cue him up. Let's remind ourselves of the Jarquez Hunter profile. Drafted in the 4th round, 5'9", 204. Runs a 4.44. Best comp is DeAndre Swift. 90th percentile 40-yard dash, but weight-adjusted speed score down to 105. 24% college dominator rating. 6.4 yards per carry in college. That's not bad. Only a 7.7% college target share. And then when we look at these stats overall, last year had 1,200 rushing yards, 21 receptions last year, 9 total touchdowns. Even though it's unstacked, I know I want another quarterback. I think I'm just going to take Darnold. Does not stack up at all. So just trying to get points. That's really all it is. Another option I can backstack with if I really want to. But yeah, the stacks are pretty irrelevant. It's all kind of hinging on Dak with CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson. That's really the big investment on this team. We could take Marshawn Lloyd if we get sniped, but to pair him with Josh Jacobs, not my favorite thing to do. I would rather just bet on one. But who knows? Maybe Josh Jacobs is elite enough to get you there, and then he goes down, and then we'd be fucked if we didn't have an elite running back. Fuck it. Let's go Marshawn Lloyd. Let's do the Green Bay Packers handcuff. Full investment on this Packers running back room. And yeah, that's the argument we're saying is the the right decision with this strategy. Jacobs is going to be really, really good to carry us to advance out of this pod. However, in the fantasy playoffs, maybe he goes down, and without him, this team would be kind of screwed. But Marshawn Lloyd's going to fill in as the starter in Green Bay and give us the points we need. With the randomness that there's fewer teams in the fantasy playoffs with Marshawn Lloyd in the first place. So just fully betting on the Packers running back room. Not always my favorite thing to do, but is not the most insane strategy either. Does have a path for high-end outcomes as well. Not completely insane. Question is, what do I do with this last pick? Because receivers good enough where I don't think an 8th is like necessary. Lamb's going to be in our lineup pretty much every week. We've got Garrett Wilson, DJ Moore, Matthew Golden, Ayuk, Keon Coleman, Hollywood Brown. I really don't think I need an 8th. And then running back is really top heavy where I don't think I need a 6th. So I think I'm going to grab a tight end here. And I think we're going to go with, Ferguson's off the board. That's a bummer. Maybe we go Elijah Arroyo. Or maybe we make this another Torrey Horton team. I'll be with Lon Larison. No. I think I'm going to go back to the well on Torrey Horton. We'll give someone to correlate with Darnold. Or maybe I should go Tutu Atwell. Not Arroyo. It's Horton or... We went Horton on the last one. We'll go Tutu Atwell. Tutu got paid like $10 million. He'll at least be on the field. But, kind of an irrelevant pick. Anyways, that's the team. Not like the most elite because of our quarterback combos, but not bad. I think the running back room is really solid. Receivers really, really good. And then tight end. As long as Jonnu's elite, once again, this is definitely a viable team. So that's going to be it. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. And I wish you all luck with whatever you're doing this week. If you want any other content, you can check out some of my other streams posted on the channel. You can check out my win-loss pick videos. I've got 3 divisions up. We'll probably post another one this weekend. And I'm not sure which division to do next. Let me know what division you'd like to see. We could do the NFC South or the NFC West. And then in the AFC, I have all 3 divisions except for the AFC West. So let me know in the comment section if there's a division you would like to see next. I have no preference on which one it is. But enjoy your weekend. Catch you later. And peace out, everyone. Goodbye.